This is Fox 43 News at 10.
2 Baltimore police officers charged in connection to Freddie Gray's death have filed their own lawsuit now against the city state's attorney. Why they say the prosecutor damaged their reputation.
President Barack Obama's historic trip to Japan is now being overshadowed by a murder. How the president is responding to allegations that a former U.S. Marine killed a Japanese woman.
The dogs were in rows of kennels, just that were feces ridden.
And first on Fox Tonight, bulldogs rescued from a Lancaster County man's puppy mill, and that owner has been convicted on 11 counts of animal cruelty. The Lancaster County District Attorney's Office says 35-year-old Daniel Lapp from Holtwood was mistreating dogs at a kennel at his house.
Those dogs were taken from Lapp's home on February 22nd. He was convicted yesterday. Fox 43's Leah Kirstein shows us what led to Lapp's conviction and how the dogs are doing now.
Pictures show bulldog-type dogs kept in kennels with feces all around them in Holtwood, Lancaster County.
This is just your typical case of a puppy mill gone wrong, and basically a puppy mill that's not doing right by the dogs who are producing income for them.
Susan Martin from the Lancaster County SPCA was called in to investigate the mill after an anonymous tip call was made.
I certainly appreciate the person that took the extra mile here and made that call, and have certainly saved many, if not all, these dogs.
When Martin arrived, one dog was dead. The owner, Daniel Lapp, agreed to hand over the other 10 dogs, including 4 puppies. Martin says 2 of the older dogs had severe infections.
One was so bad that her tail had grown into her rectum and punctured through her rectum. So she had to have surgery by a specialist at Liddit's Vet Clinic.
Raja nearly lost her leg due to her infection.
More than likely it was from an open wound in her laying in her feces. That feces had gotten into that wound and made the leg the way it was. It was very apparent based on the view of the leg that it had been going on for months.
Martin used photos of Raja and from the scene during a summary hearing Tuesday, when Lapp was convicted on 11 counts of cruelty to animals.
I was really surprised. I really was.
The Huber family purchased their dogs, Huck and Haas, from Lapp within the last 2 years.
We went there unexpected. They didn't know that we were coming, and they were very clean for, considering what it was. We didn't think that it would be the cleanest, but it was actually very nice.
I was like, no, not the neighbor, because when we went, like I said, everything looked very nice and very clean and well taken care of.
The farm is located just down the road. We did speak to Lapp. He had nothing to say to us. The judge ordered him to pay nearly $7,000 in restitution. Also, he's not allowed to have a dog for 990 days.
Sometimes we don't even get that. I mean, sometimes we don't any kind of order like that. Sometimes you only get a fine. Sometimes you get restitution. I mean, it really depends. I mean, and in this case, I mean, that's a substantial amount of time that the judge can't own a dog. And from this, you can tell he shouldn't be owning a dog.
Since the dogs were taken in February, they are all now in good health. Raja's leg was able to be saved, and all of the dogs have been adopted.
All of the dogs have been placed in great homes.
In Lancaster County, Leah Kirstein, Fox 43 News.
The horse that was left abandoned in Lancaster County and shot with more than 100 paintballs is going to a new home.
Comedian Jon Stewart and his wife Tracy adopted the horse named Lily. Fox 43's Chris Hoffman tells us what Lily's future will hold.
Lily was brought here for rehab after treatment at the new Bolton Center. She can now look forward to many more years of fields like this and her new forever home. Lily is now getting some TLC from Tracy Stewart.
She's very, very, very sweet. She's really, honestly, the sweetest horse I've ever met. She's really gentle. She's really trusting despite everything that she's gone through.
Stewart says Lily will be part of the Farm Sanctuary brand she is hoping to have ready by spring of next year.
She's going to do whatever she wants all day. We really actually have no demands we're going to make on her from here on out. It's going to be exactly what she wants.
Stewart found out about Lily through Farm Sanctuary, an organization that works to change how our society views and treats farm animals. They heard about Lily and asked Stewart to adopt her. Stewart checked with her husband, John, and they said yes.
She's going to get the best of care.
Lily made a friend while recovering, Anita, who is also being adopted by Stewart. The two animals get along. Both horses lost eyes.
It's actually a cover-up for my hoarding that I like to do, because this makes it seem legitimate.
This is from the last time we saw Lily, underweight and covered in paint. Now there are no paint marks, she's healthier, and she was able to keep her sight in her remaining eye. She will have to receive ointment for her eye and have a certain eating habit to stay healthy.
Not anything too crazy, just kind of things that you have to do with older animals.
Stewart says it's sad what Lily had to go through and believes change will come to animal cruelty laws.
I think Lily's story will be a big part of telling why that's so necessary and important.
In Kennett Square, Chester County, Chris Hoffman, Fox 43 News.
And a Rhode Island man was found guilty of transporting Lily to a stable in New Holland, Lancaster County to be auctioned off. A judge convicted 65-year-old Philip Price Jr. of 5 counts regarding his handling of the horse back in March. Price has to pay more than $13,000 in fines and recovery care costs for the horse. However, no one has yet been charged with shooting Lily with a paintball gun more than 100 times.
We receive anonymous calls or tips. We try to always make sure that we follow up on those and start an investigation. So the important thing is when someone observes animal cruelty that they call and report it immediately to the proper authorities.
There also is not much information on exactly what Lily did or where she came from before coming to Pennsylvania, other than she was used for training lessons in New Jersey.
The State Department of Environmental Protection has extended a Code Orange air quality alert for most of central Pennsylvania. Code Orange means there are high levels of an unhealthy smog. Now, the air quality could cause problems for children and the elderly, as well as those people who have respiratory problems like asthma or emphysema. DEP officials say the alert could extend into Friday due to the warm weather we've been having. And it certainly was warm out today, but beautiful.
It was beautiful, comfortable. We didn't have the humidity levels to deal with, but we're going to start to feel that humidity creeping up. And even though we do have the air quality alert in effect tomorrow, you can see for the counties in orange, we do have thunderstorms in the afternoon, but typically rain would help to break up the particulates or the elevated ozone levels, but we're not going to see enough to actually do that. So just be mindful of that if you do suffer from respiratory issues, or keep an eye on the children as well and how much you're outside. Let's take a look at temperatures right now. It is still quite warm at this hour. 76 in Harrisburg, 77 in Carlisle. We've got 70 in Likens and Chambersburg, 62 in Lewistown and Duncannon coming in at 66 degrees. And Storm Tracker is dry. We're actually picking up some feedback here around the radar sites, but I don't expect any rain the rest of it, or for this evening or even into the beginning of tomorrow. However, we will be watching for afternoon thunderstorms, and we see a few clouds drifting in as we head through the overnight period. But all in all, should be a quiet start. Tomorrow morning, we're looking at hazy skies, a few high clouds to begin the day. Temperatures starting at about 60 degrees at 6 a.m. and we're going to warm up quickly near 70 degrees as we head towards 9 o'clock. It looks like another day in the 80s. I'll track those storms and let you know when you can see the development of them as we head through the day coming up in just a few minutes.
The Ukrainian man police say posed as a Harrisburg high school student is now facing federal charges. A grand jury indicted Arthur Samarin, also known as Asher Potts, saying that he knowingly used false information to get a U.S. passport and social security card. Samarin is in Dauphin County Prison already on a number of state charges of fraud and sexual assault. The woman who cared for Samarin for 3 years may also soon be in trouble. Attorney Corky Goldstein says his client Stephanie Potts could face her own federal charges for helping Samarin falsify those documents.
She knows whatever she did, if she did anything wrong or illegal, she will own up to it. The motivation was pure so he could stay in this country and not have to go back to a country where he had indicated to them that his life would be in danger.
Samarin was arrested in February while he was using the alias Asher Potts while he was enrolled at Harrisburg High School. Governor Tom Wolf signed a law making the Ignition Interlock program mandatory for certain first-time DUI offenders. The measure received overwhelming approval in both the State House and Senate before landing on the governor's desk. Under the law, a convicted first-time drunk driver who has a blood alcohol level above 0.1% would have to use an ignition interlock system for a year. Previously, only repeat offenders were ordered to use the interlock system.
The state attorney general's office has filed a lawsuit against a Dauphin County man accused of selling vehicles without proper licenses. Investigators say Theodore Sopko of Derry Township advertised the sale of more than 30 vehicles over the past year, even though he was not properly licensed as a dealer or salesperson at the locations where the transactions took place. The lawsuit also alleges Sopko presented himself as a vehicle broker, a practice which is illegal under Pennsylvania law.
2 Baltimore teenagers have been sentenced in the stabbing death of a woman during a burglary at her home in 2014. 19-year-old Alan Pinkney and 17-year-old Alonzo Gorham Ramos were sentenced to 45 years in prison. The teenagers were 16 and 14 at the time when they broke into the 51-year-old woman's home while she was sleeping. When she woke up and saw the teenagers, they attacked her with a knife and then fled the scene. DNA testing later revealed the victim's blood on the teenager's clothing. 2 of the 6 Baltimore police officers charged in connection with the death of Freddie Gray have filed a lawsuit against the Baltimore City State's attorney. Sergeant Alicia White and Officer William Porter, who are facing charges of involuntary manslaughter, are suing prosecutor Marilyn Mosby for defamation and invasion of privacy. The suit alleges Mosby made false statements about the police officers in order to quell the riots in Baltimore. It also alleges Mosby's statements exposed the officers to public scorn, hatred, and contempt. In the meantime, the officers do have separate criminal trials scheduled for later this year. Both are requesting trials by jury. President Obama landed in Japan amid a firestorm of controversy surrounding the murder of a 20-year-old Japanese woman by a U.S. Marine stationed in Okinawa.
Fox's Peter Ducey explains how intimidating remarks from Chinese officials are further complicating the president's visits.
President Obama received a warm welcome in Japan this morning with the G7 summit and historic visit to Hiroshima coming up. But the visit is being overshadowed by anger in Japan over the murder of a Japanese woman in Okinawa. A former U.S. Marine has been arrested, and Japanese officials are now demanding action.
Prime Minister Abe will convey the concerns shared among the Japanese people and urge President Obama to take steps rigidly.
The Obama administration says it wants to move past the incident, agreeing to support the trial of the former Marine in the Japanese legal system, though the details are still being worked out.
We have built a partnership with them over the past 70-plus years that is durable and forward-looking.
But the situation is being complicated by new bluster from the Chinese over territorial claims in the South China Sea. The Chinese Foreign Ministry accusing Obama of caving to Japanese demands in order to win their support in the ongoing standoff.
Japan is doing selfish calculations and playing petty games. Their failure to perform proper duties is not in the interest of the G7 and peace and stability of the South China Sea.
But President Obama says the two issues aren't related, and a diplomatic solution is being made more difficult by Chinese demands and tough talk.
We would very much like to see a peaceful resolution of those disputes. What's preventing that from happening is not anything we're doing.
The president's trip to Hiroshima, the centerpiece of his Asia trip, is scheduled for Friday. In Washington, Peter Ducey, Fox News.
Some people in Pennsylvania who buy health insurance from the public marketplace could see a hike in their premiums.
Why the cost of some plans could go up by nearly 50%.
And dry eye disease typically affects elderly people. Why doctors are now seeing more cases of dry eye disease in very young children.
An active volcano on the Big Island in Hawaii is drawing a lot of attention. Why officials say they are not worried about new lava flow breakouts. When Fox 43 News at 10 returns.
You're watching Fox 43 News at 10.
New data from the Pennsylvania Insurance Department shows that people who buy health insurance from the public marketplace could see a big jump in their premiums.
As Fox 43's Felix Rodriguez Lima reports, the average individual plan has a proposed increase of almost 24%, with group plans rising around 8%.
The state's insurance department may have some sticker shock after seeing the rate hikes proposed by the insurance companies who sell policies to almost 900,000 Pennsylvanians on the health insurance marketplace.
Unfortunately, some of those proposed increases are quite large, which has us very concerned.
Some plans up to 48% higher, and many others are seeking similar rate hikes.
We're seeing rates this year that I think are higher than in the past. Last year we had a few plans that came in with very significant increases. This year we have many more plans that are coming in with very significant increases.
Miller says one factor in the rate hikes is that 2 of the programs through the Affordable Care Act that stabilized rates end this year. The other,
we had companies coming in 2014 pricing their plans very aggressively, trying to get consumers in, and now that they have more experience, they're increasing the rates because they learned that those rates just weren't sustainable in terms of covering all the costs of providing the care.
The insurance department says it will review the proposals, and many will likely be reduced before they're published for good in October. They're also taking public comment, but above all, they are
encouraging consumers to shop because there are alternatives and there are options out there.
Amid growing public concerns that the Affordable Care Act may not be so affordable after all.
One of the biggest factors that we look at when we're reviewing these is the impact it's going to have on those who are going to face these significant increases. And I hear a lot from them that they're really concerned about how they're going to continue paying these premiums.
In Harrisburg, Felix Rodriguez-Lima, Fox 43 News.
As the Department of Defense asked Congress to consider a new base realignment and closures plan, some people aren't taking the threat of closures lightly. A Lebanon County administrator enlisted a consult to graft a defense strategy to protect the National Guard training facility at Fort Indiantown Gap.
We're just trying to gather attitudes about the Gap, weaknesses that the Gap may have, strengths of the Gap, obviously, and just be able to put all that together and make a good case.
The county will release the results of the study in July. That study cost $25,000. Officials say the base survey is money well spent because losing this training center could put the economic future of the entire community at risk.
Some gas stations in Pennsylvania will be allowed to sell 6-packs of beer. The Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board approved licenses for 9 gas stations to sell 6-packs. This comes a day after the governor sent the control board a letter asking to, quote, free the 6-pack. In his letter, the governor says that allowing gas stations to sell 6-packs of beer increases convenience and improves customer satisfaction in the state. The Liquor Control Board chairman, Tim Holden, says he wanted to wait until the state Supreme Court made a decision on the issue, but now has acknowledged it may be a while before that happens.
If I continued to hold these up, and if there was a second vote to hold it up, we'd be holding back commerce in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Distributors argue Pennsylvania's liquor code should be interpreted as it's written, which would prohibit gas stations from being allowed to sell 6-packs. But Holden says the state Supreme Court's decision could be made as late as 2017. Well, this brings us to the topic of our Fox 43 poll question today. We ask if you think 6-packs of beer should be available for purchase at convenience and grocery stores here in Pennsylvania. At this point, 72% of you say yes, 28% say no. If you'd like to add your vote, head to fox43.com or our Fox 43 Facebook or Twitter pages. Officials in more than 10 states are now suing the Obama administration over the new transgender bathroom directive for public schools.
As Fox's Doug McElway reports, the officials believe the policy is illegal and could cause problems for children in bathrooms and locker rooms.
The transgender bathroom controversy takes a step towards a legal resolution. Texas leading a coalition of 11 states in a lawsuit against the federal government, following a Justice Department directive to schools allowing transgender students to use the bathroom of their choice. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton says he's asking a judge to declare that directive illegal.
They didn't follow the proper procedures, and that this isn't an interpretation of law. This is a new rewrite of law. So we're not talking about interpretation here. We all can read the statute as it's written.
Many of the states involved had previously vowed defiance, calling the directive a threat to children's safety. Paxton admits there have not been any instances in which a child's safety has been threatened because of transgender bathroom rights, but his position is backed by several school superintendents who claim they've been hearing from anxious parents on the issue.
Washington's mandate doesn't fit our schools, so we are suing to keep the federal government out of our children's locker rooms and restrooms.
The question of whether civil rights laws protect transgender Americans hasn't been definitively answered. But Attorney General Loretta Lynch says any fight against discrimination is part of the legacy of the civil rights movement.
Civil rights and human rights are not limited to any one particular issue or any one group of people. And where there are people who feel victimized, that is exactly what the civil rights laws are meant to cover.
Lynch says the Justice Department will respond in kind to any lawsuit challenging the directive. In Washington, Doug McElway, Fox News.
Yeah, we're going to start to feel the humidity increasing, and we're going to talk about the threat for thunderstorms each and every day, but it does look like another day well into the 80s. I'll have all the forecast details in the 7-day. Stay with Fox 43 News at 10. We'll be right back.